For weeks now, we have been wondering what is going to happen when the enhanced unemployment benefit goes away. That benefit being, for many Americans, tens of millions, the majority of the entire aid that they've gotten from the federal government during the worst domestic crisis that we've had during the entirety of my life and longer. It's a one-time payment and $600 a week coming from the federal government if you were unemployed, as many were. And we're now seeing, by the way, as of today, more unemployment claims coming in as the economy suffers the obvious damage of doing basically nothing to actually fight the pandemic. You can try to reopen, but you can't make it safe if you don't actually do anything about the virus. And so we've been wondering, are they going to extend these unemployment benefits, or are they going to make the incredibly cruel decision to just cut it off? And they found something sort of in the middle, but leaning towards cruel. According to reports that I'm seeing, including from CNBC, the GOP is considering extending the unemployment benefit at $100 a week, cutting it from $600 down to $100 for people who might have been out of work for literally months now, who are facing the possibility of soon being evicted or, having their homes foreclosed upon. $100, Michael Shore.
Yeah, it's clearly not enough. It's embarrassing. Maybe it's a starting off point. But the point is, the Democrats want this extended at 600. They don't want it to be temporary. They want it to be that way until the end of the year. A couple of things. Yes, it's probably preventing a good number of people from going back to work. Were there jobs, right? There aren't jobs. You see the unemployment rates going higher. Businesses are still closed, and we are regressing as far as it comes to COVID right now. So how can you say it's preventing you go back to a job that doesn't exist? It's putting money into an economy that wouldn't otherwise be there. It's preventing foreclosures. It's preventing, rent being behind on rent. It's getting medical bills paid, credit card bills paid, and it's putting money into the economy. Without those dollars, the money would not be in the economy. Mm-hmm. They're using a poll. 639 people were polled. 18% said that they would rather be on this unemployment. It's stopping them from going back to their job or looking for more work. It's an absurd thing to take one poll and have it be on that. The point is that there are not jobs to go back to. The money goes back into the economy. This is all that is keeping many Americans afloat. And like welfare, if there are some people that are using it in nefarious ways or staying on it, it's worth that to have the other people, the other 80%, 82% in that poll, be able to get by and help them out. So I think the sacrifice is worth the reward here. I think it's an absurd and insulting and politically deaf thing for the Republicans.
I definitely think so. I want to turn to that in one sec. But before that, though, so they're focused on this. What are the incentives for people? Are they going to go back to work? And they've decided we're going to talk about one potential incentive, and that is, are they temporarily making as much or maybe slightly more than they were making? Now, I've said many times that's an indictment of what they were being paid beforehand, but that's a conversation we're not going to have as a country. So I guess we'll proceed with this. So is it the economic thing? And they're, of course, ignoring, and I understand why, the fact that they're saying not only should these people go back to work, but there should not be any mask mandate. It should be totally up to the individual whether they wear masks. Their corporation should be protected from lawsuits if they create an environment that is unsafe and people get sick or possibly die. So all of these things having to do with maintaining the health of the worker and the health of their family and friends, we're going to do nothing in that. In fact, we're going to undercut any efforts to create a safe work environment. Then we're going to strip away the money and try to make you so economically anxious, so worried about losing everything that you'll go back to that dangerous situation that we've set up for you. I guess they don't want any of these people to vote for them. I guess in an election they've decided that we don't need literally 1% of the working class to vote for us, because the message they're sending seems to me to be pretty clear.
And small business owners, if that's who they're after, many of those who are polled say, I understand why my employee still wants to stay out, and I get it. Many of them have said that because it's understandable, and not that they're going to pay them more when they get back, but let's get back to normal again. And this is the bridge to getting back to normal for so many people who would otherwise just, fall out into bad credit and be put on the street. It's just a terrible, terrible idea.
So I know that we've been talking throughout this episode about strategy, about, we concentrate on the substance of these moves, but then also how's it going to affect the election? And this seems like a pretty significant one. That they made the decision, okay, we're not going to actually fight the virus. We're just going to pretend that it's gone away and roll the dice. And maybe it'll work. Maybe it will go away when the weather gets warmer. That clearly hasn't happened because cases went up and then hospitalizations went up and now deaths are going up. And there's every reason to believe that we're going to slide into the election with 1,000 to 2,000 plus people dying every day. That's obviously hurt him in the past. He's now locking that into, that's the situation we're going to have. Economically, the fact that so many people lost their jobs clearly hasn't been good for him, and they're making economic decisions that are going to cause catastrophes leading up to the election. More people are going to lose their jobs. People are going to be evicted. They're going to be on the street. They're going to be losing their homes. How is this a strategy to try to create utter chaos in terms of public health and the economy?
The Trump campaign is trying to hold on to voters who voted for them in 2016, who are going to vote for Biden or leaning toward voting for Biden. Those voters are not the people, generally speaking, who would be part of this catastrophe. They are generally suburban, independent voters who like small government. That's what they're banking on with this. That if you give fewer handouts and you give smaller government, that you're going to, they're going to be supported by those voters. There's also desperation here because this is a desperate measure. And this isn't all Donald Trump either. This is the Republicans in the Senate who are talking about this. So there's desperation here, making a Hail Mary pass for some of those voters to come back to the president and come back to Republican senators because they are middle-class voters, often suburban, and they're small business owners. And those are the ones that would be in favor of something like this. But it's not going to, I can't see that it is going to be successful. And I think it's too marginal. They're going for a voter in a very, very precise way. I don't think precision is going to work here.
But isn't, I regret, I'm pulling these numbers out of, I think I heard them in the past couple of days, but I believe that suburban voters went for Trump by like 4 points in 2016. And I think that recent polls have Biden up by like 14 or 15 points with that group. Is this a strategy to get that group back after months of a strategy that doesn't seem to be working?
Certainly to stem the losses, right? I mean, and that's where the margins are in this election, it would seem, according to pollsters. And I don't know those exact numbers. And in 2018, the suburban voters, that's where you really saw them leaving, especially women. And I don't think, when you look at the percentages of small businesses that are owned by women versus men, I don't even think that it's enough of a group of people that would find this appealing. And then you also have the sympathies of small business owners, too, to play with. So not that they don't see this as a black and white down the line, decision that they're making or situation. They see the humanity of their employees and how they're getting more money and they can't make it without it. They also can't employ them to the same level of hours and opportunity. Yeah. They can promise that it's going to go forward. It seems like really, really foolish, but maybe it's just a negotiating ploy on other things like payroll tax credits and that. And if that's the case, if it's a negotiating ploy, then let's see where it is at the end of next week.
Yeah, and look, if that's what it is, it's not that we actually want to give people just $100, but we want to threaten to give them just $100. It is on the Democrats to make sure that everyone knows that that is how they are negotiating, that they're putting the squeeze not on the virus, but on the people who are worst off right now during the pandemic.
Well, it's also on the Democrats to fight it and fight it vocally. It gives them an opportunity, which is kind of nice, too, to say, hey, look, we're trying to get you every dollar that we can. And, it also gives them room that if they have to compromise to 500 or 400, hey, look, they were at 100 and we fought to get you 400 or 500. So it does do a favor to the Democrats.
Yeah, I think that it would be a great time for them to, bring up legislation creating the $2,000 UBI throughout the entirety of the pandemic that's been talked about. If you're going to negotiate with $100, here, we're going to negotiate with $2,000. Let's see what the people think.
Wouldn't hold your breath on that one, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Not with this Congress, but, we're working on it. For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.